When it comes to understanding male pleasure, most people think they know what excites a man, but the truth goes far beyond the obvious and physical. It's not just about the more commonly discussed areas, there's a depth to male pleasure that is rarely spoken about openly, and yet it is a fundamental part of intimacy that can completely transform a relationship. Men, like women, have spots that respond not only to touch, but to attention, timing, and the way a partner connects with them emotionally and physically. Recognizing this is the first step toward creating a more profound and mutually satisfying connection, and it requires curiosity, patience, and a willingness to explore beyond surface level assumptions. This is not something that can be rushed or approached mechanically. It is an art that blends sensitivity with attentiveness, and understanding it can make the difference between a fleeting moment of pleasure and an unforgettable experience. Exploring male pleasure means tuning into the subtle cues that are often overlooked, gestures, movements, or sounds that indicate what truly feels good. Every man is unique, and what might be pleasurable for one could be neutral or even uncomfortable for another. This is why a generalized approach rarely works. True understanding comes from observation, experimentation, and careful attention to how he responds. It's about noticing the little shifts in his body, the change in his breathing, or the way his expression softens, which are all indicators of pleasure that go beyond mere physical stimulation. These signals, when recognized and responded to thoughtfully, create a cycle of intimacy where both partners feel seen, appreciated, and connected on a deeper level. Beyond physical touch, male pleasure is intimately tied to emotional engagement. A man's mind is an often overlooked part of his sexual response, and stimulating it can be just as powerful as any touch. Feeling desired, understood, and accepted can enhance the physical experience in ways that direct stimulation alone cannot achieve. Emotional intimacy and sexual pleasure are intertwined, and when one is neglected, the other can suffer. This means that to truly understand male pleasure, one must not only focus on anatomy, but also on presence, energy, and attentiveness. Being fully present in the moment, genuinely interested in his responses, and attuned to his needs opens doors to levels of pleasure that are otherwise inaccessible. Another critical aspect is the mindset of both partners. Male pleasure is often portrayed as simple or instinctive, but in reality, it can be profoundly influenced by confidence, trust, and vulnerability. A man who feels safe and emotionally supported is far more likely to experience heightened pleasure. The environment, the energy, and the emotional climate all play roles in how he experiences intimacy. Learning to create that space, understanding the balance between assertiveness and sensitivity, and recognizing the importance of consent and mutual enjoyment are all part of fully appreciating what makes him feel incredible. Technique matters, but it is always enhanced by connection. Simply knowing the mechanics without understanding his personal preferences or emotional landscape is incomplete. The true key lies in merging knowledge of physical responses with attentiveness to emotional needs. This combination allows for moments that feel effortless yet deeply satisfying, where pleasure is not just a fleeting sensation, but a shared, memorable experience. Understanding this elevates intimacy from routine to extraordinary. Exploration should be gradual, playful, and guided by curiosity. Patience and attentiveness allow one to uncover layers of pleasure that remain hidden beneath assumptions or habits. Asking questions, trying different approaches, and remaining open to feedback are essential for discovering what genuinely excites him. Over time, this creates a dynamic of trust and anticipation, where both partners feel empowered to express themselves fully and enjoy the results of shared discovery. It is this attention to detail, respect for his unique experience, and willingness to engage on multiple levels that transforms simple moments of pleasure into deeply satisfying and lasting intimacy. The importance of communication in intimacy cannot be overstated, especially when it comes to understanding what truly excites a man. Many assume that men will simply show or tell you what they like, but the reality is far more nuanced. Men often communicate their pleasure through subtle cues rather than explicit words, and being able to read these signals is essential for deepening connection and enhancing intimacy. It's not just about asking questions or giving instructions. It's about creating a space where he feels safe to express his desires, where curiosity and attentiveness guide the interaction. Learning to interpret his gestures, the changes in his breathing, his posture, and even micro expressions becomes a language of its own, a way of connecting that goes far beyond spoken words. Understanding these subtle cues requires patience and observation. A man may not always vocalize what feels good, but his body can provide a roadmap if you are willing to pay attention. A shift in tension, a quickened heartbeat, a softening of his expression, or a small, involuntary sound can indicate pleasure, anticipation, or sensitivity. Recognizing and responding to these moments communicates not only awareness, but also desire and care. It is a dance of give and take, where attunement is more important than perfection, and learning to respond to what he is communicating, sometimes unconsciously, creates intimacy that is both physical and emotional. The more attuned one becomes, the more natural the interaction feels, turning instinctive responses into meaningful connections. Effective communication also includes verbal expression, though it does not always have to be explicit. Gentle prompts, playful questions, or affirmations of interest can encourage him to share his needs without feeling pressured. Men often respond positively when they sense a partner's genuine curiosity and willingness to explore what brings them pleasure. This is where emotional intelligence intersects with physical intimacy. Knowing how to approach the topic with sensitivity, how to create a non-judgmental atmosphere, and how to balance attentiveness with responsiveness allows both partners to feel seen and understood. When done correctly, this type of communication enhances trust and allows for more adventurous and fulfilling experiences. The timing and context of communication matter as well. Understanding when to engage, when to observe, and when to guide can dramatically change the experience. For instance, during intimate moments, subtle suggestions or questions may be more effective than direct instructions, while at other times, open conversations outside the bedroom can help clarify desires and boundaries. Both approaches reinforce the idea that his pleasure is a priority and that his comfort and enjoyment are valued. By combining observation with intentional dialogue, one can create a rhythm where communication feels natural, empowering, and deeply connected. Moreover, the ability to read and respond to cues fosters mutual respect and reciprocity. Men often appreciate a partner who is not only attentive but also willing to adjust and adapt based on their reactions. This dynamic is not about control or technique alone. It is about a partnership where each person feels involved, respected, and engaged in the shared experience. The more fluid and responsive the interaction, the more pleasurable it becomes, not just physically, but emotionally. When a man senses that his pleasure is understood and anticipated, it amplifies both intimacy and desire. Ultimately, understanding communication in intimacy is about building a dialogue that transcends words, where attention to subtle details creates a profound connection. It is about tuning into his body, his responses, and his emotional state with genuine curiosity and care. This attentiveness allows for a deeper, more satisfying connection where both partners feel heard, appreciated, and fully engaged in the shared experience. It transforms intimacy into a collaborative, responsive, and emotionally resonant journey where the pleasure of one naturally enhances the pleasure of the other. Focusing on a specific male pleasure spot can completely change the way intimacy is experienced between partners, creating moments of connection that feel both thrilling and deeply personal. Many people think pleasure is uniform or predictable, but the truth is that there are areas that, when stimulated correctly, can unlock sensations far beyond the expected. It's not simply about technique, it's about understanding the nuances of response, the way touch can be modulated, and the timing of attention. By concentrating on these key areas, one can heighten arousal, intensify emotional connection, and create a sense of mutual satisfaction that lingers beyond the physical act. Recognizing and respecting this spot is not just an act of pleasure, it's an act of care, a demonstration of attentiveness that communicates understanding without words. Exploring this area requires attentiveness and a willingness to experiment. Every individual responds differently, and what might elicit intense pleasure for one man may be less effective for another. This is why patience and observation are crucial, as well as maintaining an open line of communication, whether verbal or nonverbal. Learning to notice the shifts in his body, the way muscles tense and relax, or the subtle changes in breathing can guide one's actions and ensure the experience is pleasurable rather than overstimulating. By being present in the moment and responsive to these cues, one can create an environment where he feels safe to let go and fully enjoy the sensation, reinforcing intimacy and trust in ways that extend beyond physicality. The power of focusing on this spot goes beyond mere pleasure. It can strengthen emotional bonds. When a partner takes the time to understand what excites him, it communicates attentiveness and care, reinforcing a sense of being truly seen and appreciated. Emotional and physical pleasure are deeply intertwined, and when one is nurtured, the other naturally follows. This means that stimulating this area is not purely a physical act. It becomes a way to affirm connection, build trust, and deepen emotional resonance. Over time, these moments of focused attention create a pattern where both partners feel more aligned, more in tune, and more invested in each other's pleasure and satisfaction. Technique plays a role, but the intention behind it is equally important. Touching this spot in a way that is gentle, deliberate, and responsive makes the difference between a routine gesture and an electrifying experience. Understanding rhythm, pressure, and timing allows for sensations to build naturally, creating anticipation and heightening excitement. This attentiveness to detail, combined with a genuine desire to understand his responses, transforms the interaction from a mechanical act into a shared exploration of pleasure. It also opens the door for deeper communication, as he learns to express what feels best, and the partner learns to adapt in real time, creating a dynamic of mutual discovery. Focusing on this area also empowers both partners to explore boundaries and preferences. It encourages experimentation with what feels good, what enhances intimacy, and what strengthens the bond between them. Being attuned to his responses allows for subtle adjustments that elevate the experience, making it feel tailored and unique. This process of exploration fosters curiosity, trust, and excitement, while reinforcing the idea that his pleasure is understood and prioritized. It also models an important principle. Intimacy is a journey rather than a destination, one where attention, care, and responsiveness create moments of unforgettable connection. Ultimately, concentrating on this specific pleasure spot transforms intimacy into a collaborative experience. It encourages mindfulness, attentiveness, and responsiveness, where pleasure becomes a shared, dynamic exchange. By blending physical awareness with emotional understanding, one can create moments that are intensely satisfying, memorable, and deeply bonding, establishing a foundation for both physical enjoyment and emotional closeness that resonates long after the moment itself. The psychological impact of knowing and stimulating a man's hidden pleasure points is often underestimated, yet it can profoundly affect the way he experiences intimacy and connection. Pleasure is not solely a physical sensation. It is deeply intertwined with the mind, and understanding what excites him on a psychological level can amplify the physical experience in ways that mere touch cannot achieve. When a partner demonstrates awareness and intentionality, it communicates attentiveness, care, and desire, which can strengthen emotional bonds and foster a sense of security and trust. This knowledge allows for a deeper connection, where intimacy becomes more than a routine act, transforming into a shared exploration of sensation and emotional resonance that leaves both partners feeling valued and understood. Understanding these hidden pleasure points requires observation, patience, and a willingness to explore beyond assumptions. Men may respond to subtle forms of stimulation that are not widely discussed or acknowledged, and identifying these requires a combination of curiosity and attentiveness. Paying close attention to his reactions, noting the shifts in his breathing, changes in posture, or even minor expressions of pleasure provides valuable insight into what truly excites him. Over time, this attentiveness allows one to anticipate and respond to his needs, creating a dynamic where pleasure becomes a dialogue rather than a one-sided act, enhancing both physical satisfaction and emotional intimacy. Psychological engagement also involves recognizing the role of anticipation and mental stimulation in male pleasure. Fantasies, teasing, and playful exploration can intensify arousal and deepen emotional connection, demonstrating that the mind is as important as the body in creating pleasure. Men often experience heightened sensitivity when they feel desired, understood, and admired, and this is where knowledge of his hidden pleasure points becomes transformative. By combining mental stimulation with physical attention, one can create experiences that are more intense, memorable, and fulfilling, fostering a deeper sense of connection and satisfaction that goes beyond the surface level of touch alone. The confidence and reassurance a partner provides while exploring these points also play a significant role in amplifying pleasure. When a man feels safe to express his reactions without judgment or pressure, his ability to enjoy the experience increases dramatically. This creates an environment of trust where both partners are free to explore and experiment, knowing that their responses are valued and respected. This sense of psychological safety strengthens the emotional connection and encourages a willingness to communicate desires openly, ultimately leading to a more harmonious and satisfying intimate relationship. Stimulating hidden pleasure points also highlights the importance of timing, pacing, and attentiveness. Rushing or being overly focused on results can diminish the experience, while mindful, deliberate attention enhances anticipation and intensifies pleasure. This awareness allows a partner to engage in a rhythm that feels natural and responsive, adjusting in real time to his reactions. The interplay of observation, responsiveness, and intentional touch cultivates an experience that is dynamic and collaborative, where both partners are actively contributing to the depth and intensity of intimacy, reinforcing both emotional and physical satisfaction. Ultimately, understanding and stimulating these hidden pleasure points bridges the gap between physical and emotional intimacy. It creates an environment where he feels fully appreciated, desired, and understood, and where the act of pleasure is not just mechanical, but deeply meaningful. By combining careful observation, psychological engagement, and responsive attention, one can cultivate moments that are intensely satisfying, emotionally resonant, and unforgettable, establishing a foundation for a relationship where trust, desire, and connection continually grow and deepen. Techniques and approaches that make a man feel desired and fully understood are crucial for creating intimacy that is both deeply satisfying and emotionally resonant. Pleasure is never just about physical stimulation. It is about connection, attention, and understanding the unique ways his body and mind respond to touch. Every individual has preferences that go beyond what is commonly discussed, and discovering these requires curiosity, patience, and a willingness to experiment. By approaching intimacy with intention and attentiveness, one can create moments where he feels truly seen and appreciated, transforming ordinary encounters into experiences that are memorable and deeply bonding. This is not about following a rigid set of rules or formulas, but about learning to tune in to his responses and adapting in real time. One of the most effective approaches is to combine sensitivity with confidence, creating a balance between exploration and assurance. Men respond to partners who are attentive to their needs, but who also take initiative and demonstrate desire. This balance allows for a dynamic in which both partners feel empowered to give and receive pleasure. Paying attention to small reactions, subtle shifts in tension, and changes in breathing can guide the approach and technique, ensuring that stimulation is effective without being overwhelming. Being responsive and adaptable communicates attentiveness, reinforces emotional connection, and amplifies the pleasure of the moment, making him feel valued and understood on multiple levels. Physical touch is only part of the equation. Mental and emotional engagement is equally important. Techniques that incorporate verbal affirmation, teasing, or playful interaction can enhance physical pleasure by engaging his mind and creating anticipation. Men are highly responsive to partners who make them feel desired and appreciated, and this extends far beyond mechanical actions. Demonstrating attentiveness through eye contact, gentle guidance, and synchronized movement fosters a sense of connection that enhances arousal and deepens intimacy. The act of showing that you understand and respond to his unique preferences strengthens trust and encourages open communication about what brings the most enjoyment, creating a collaborative and satisfying experience. The element of anticipation is also essential. Knowing when to apply pressure, when to pause, and when to vary intensity can transform a simple act into an experience of heightened pleasure. Timing, rhythm, and responsiveness work together to create sensations that feel deliberate and intentional rather than rushed or mechanical. By being attuned to his reactions and adjusting techniques accordingly, one can sustain excitement, build tension, and ultimately increase the depth of satisfaction. This attentiveness demonstrates a level of care and understanding that goes beyond surface-level intimacy, allowing both partners to feel fully engaged and connected throughout the experience. Exploration should always be guided by curiosity and a willingness to adapt. No two men are exactly alike, and discovering what makes him feel fully understood may involve trial, observation, and gentle guidance. Encouraging him to communicate openly, providing feedback in subtle ways, and being receptive to his responses fosters an environment of trust and mutual engagement. Over time, this approach develops a deeper sense of connection, where both partners feel empowered to express themselves and explore new dimensions of pleasure together. Ultimately, the right techniques and approaches are those that blend attentiveness, confidence, and responsiveness, creating a dynamic in which he feels both desired and understood. By paying attention to his physical and emotional responses, integrating mental and emotional engagement, and approaching intimacy with curiosity and care, one can cultivate experiences that are intensely satisfying, deeply bonding, and mutually empowering, establishing a foundation for pleasure that is both physical and profoundly emotional.